My name is Emmy. I'm the CMO of Bright Harbor. This is obviously Dr. Mark Hyman. We are here today because Bright Harbor, which is the company that I work for, we're a disaster relief company. We help people navigate the whole recovery process from insurance, FEMA, SBA loans, vendor selection if you do choose to rebuild. We've been putting on AMAs and webinars to help inform the LA community and communities at large that have been dealing with massive natural disasters, just how to help themselves, how to educate themselves. So we are here today with Dr. Hyman. For those of you that don't know him, which would be crazy, he is a world-renowned doctor. He's the father of functional medicine, and he has really brought functional medicine to the masses. He has a podcast called
The Dr. Hyman Show.
The Dr. Hyman Show, which has over 250 million downloads, and he is the co-founder of Function Health, which is a groundbreaking health platform offering over 100 comprehensive lab tests for just $499 a year, empowering individuals to proactively understand and manage their health with insights from top doctors like Mark. I use Function every year, and I actually twice a year because I get blood tests twice a year, and I love it. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. And then he also has 15 New York Times bestsellers. You're like, how can you do all this and write 15 New York Times bestsellers? I asked the same question. We've known each other for like 12 years at this point. He just does. Just a quick disclaimer before we jump in. Nothing that you hear here is legal advice or medical advice. We recommend that you actually go consult your doctor. Other than that, I think let's jump in, and at the end, we'll take some Q&As for anybody that has any questions. So Mark, members of the LA community, whether they were in evacuation zones or unfortunately had total house losses, had these traumatic experiences. What is the potential impact on the body's stress response to trauma? And what's the impact on their health long-term and short-term?
Well, I mean, there's the stress impact and the impact of the toxins release, which we'll talk about. But I think that, the stress is something that registers deep in your nervous system and, it can have really long-term consequences if you don't actively manage that. And I think for many of us, we're going through this and in shock, a really active stress response. We're maybe just compensating in the short term by sort of coming to activation around what needs to be done in the immediate aftermath. But in the long term, it does register. And so getting support and help, whether it's from a therapist, or whether it's simple practices like meditation, breathing, yoga, really is important. And to prioritize that time of like resetting your nervous system into the parasympathetic is key to actually helping to kind of resolve this. And also, just being able to talk about this and, support groups and community and those kinds of things can really make a huge difference because we heal in community.
Yeah. It's been really inspiring to watch how much the LA community has really come together to support each other, whether it's clothing drives, food drives, people opening their houses to their friends. It's like, it's been a huge part of this disaster just to watch this community really band together in such a beautiful way. I think smoke is on everyone's mind.
Yeah.
Like so many people have been exposed to smoke and
Yeah.
ash and I would imagine additional hazardous waste.
Yeah.
How does this impact your health?
Yeah, well, I don't want to scare everybody, but I want to kind of lay out the kinds of things that get released during wildfires. And then, at the end, I'm going to go through exactly how you can mitigate that and reduce your exposures and protect yourself. So that's the good news is there's a lot of things you can do to actually mitigate or reduce the consequences of these wildfires on your personal health. So while I'm going through this list of all the bad things, don't freak out because I'm going to give you the solution at the end. Okay. There's a lot of airborne toxins. The fine particulate matter gets in your lungs, gets in your bloodstream, and it can cause respiratory issues, cardiovascular issues. It's from the combustion of a lot of organic material and man-made structures. You get all this sort of dust in the air, which is full of toxins. And that we know is associated with not just acute respiratory symptoms, but also, skin issues or eye issues, breathing issues, but also long-term with more chronic illnesses like cardiovascular disease and cancer. Carbon monoxide is more of a short-term risk. There's a lot of volatile organic compounds that we call VOCs that are released during burning of houses and buildings and plastic and everything you can imagine gets kind of just burned up. And these are what we call VOCs or volatile organic compounds like formaldehyde, toluene, benzene, and they can really cause respiratory issues. It can come from plastics, household items. Another class is polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons or PHs, which are carcinogenic compounds that come from burning of organic material like fossil fuels and wood. Dioxin, which is pretty darn toxic, and furans are really toxic and linked to cancer and even neurodevelopmental issues or developmental issues in babies. That's from burning plastic, from treated wood, synthetic material. That all goes just kind of goes up in the air. I'm also going to talk about how long it takes for all this stuff to go away so that you can get a sense of how long you need to be careful. Heavy metals are released like lead, mercury, cadmium, and they go into the soil, they go into the water supply that comes from, paint, batteries, electronic devices that get burned up, you know, nitrogen oxides, which are, volatile gases that contribute to respiratory issues and can kind of form secondary pollutants like ozone can be toxic to the lungs, sulfur dioxide, and other volatile gas. All those are really important. That's sort of like the airborne toxins, and then there's the soil and water toxins, which are quite more longer term risks because the soil basically gets contaminated with metals, minerals, organic compounds that leach into the water and the soil, heavy metals, toxic runoff from rains and things that can happen from burned areas, enter waterways, affect, aquatic life, water supply, drinking water. And the health impacts, maybe, respiratory cardiovascular issues, eye irritation, throat irritation, headaches, dizziness, and long term can be, potentially impact chronic illness like asthma, heart disease, cancer. So in the short term, there's a lot of things you can do to mitigate versus stay inside as much as possible during actively kind of burning wildfires. Get an N95 mask. This is when you would use it to protect yourself if you're going outside. Don't do outdoor activities. Look at air quality reports. If you're growing a garden, plants and stuff, you want to make sure your soil's okay afterwards because it can get pretty contaminated. You might need to kind of remove the soil and bring in other soil. Air quality, in terms of the time it takes for things to kind of go down, it takes days to weeks after the fire for the air quality to get better. So it depends on if there's rains, if there's wind, it can be, days to weeks. So it's not like it's air pollution's there forever, but in the initial aftermath, it's pretty significant. And also, this can travel long distances. They burn coal in China and it causes heavy metal toxicity in Seattle. So it travels. The volatile organic compounds, again, those are hours to days that go away. And VOCs, they can get, still be an issue, but usually when sort of time goes by after days or weeks, they kind of go away. The soil can last for months or years if they're not cleaned up. And things like heavy metals stay in the soil. They don't go away. They don't dissipate. They're there forever. So you kind of have to deal with it. I mean, in Boston, if you grow kale in Boston and you haven't remediated your soil because of the Industrial Revolution, all the coal burning, the kale is just full of lead
Wow.
because they just, let coal.
Wow.
And so you have to be very careful. People are eating organic vegetables from their garden, but if the soil is contaminated, you got to make sure you clean that up. Water talk quality is affected potentially for weeks or months. With a lot of rains have to come, wash stuff away. Sometimes it needs to be removed or remediated, and this is more of a sort of a government sort of initiative. But for basically air, it's days to weeks. For soil, it can take months to years. Water, it can take weeks to months. So there's a lot of things you can do to actually now comes the what to do to not get sick part. So that's good. Should I go into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'd love to hear, first of all, on the water piece, like communities that didn't burn, but were like in the middle of the burn,
Yeah,
and they don't even have like a lot of them don't even have water. Like they don't even have access to water, even if they could. I mean,
right.
we'll get into kind of like the questions of like, can you even go back into your house if it's still standing and stuff like that? I mean, it's a lot of people don't even have basic utilities in their house, even if they are still
Yeah.
standing. Now, on the piece about the impact and exposure, like how would I or someone that was exposed to this be able to tell if they've been impacted? And then like
Right.
what would problems be that they would potentially notice that would then make them think, oh, hey, I need to start detoxing this or thinking about how to
Yeah.
detox.
There's short term and long term. The long term stuff is harder to measure because it's, like over decades, the risk of toxic exposures lead to cancer and heart disease and other long-term chronic illnesses or long-term respiratory issues. But in the short run, you'll notice trouble with respiratory issues, sinus issues, congestion, trouble breathing, eye irritation, skin irritation, headaches, dizziness. These are the kind of things you'll notice if you're getting exposed. And you might have all walked into some toxic environment or some room that's got shit in it, and you know what's going on. Well, if you have any of those symptoms, it means you're getting an acute exposure and you want to make sure you do the steps to remediate that.
And then, for the people that houses are still standing or like have at least part of their house still standing, I talked to a guy the other day who's just his garage had burned down, but the rest of his house was standing. Like, how do you think about like people want to go back in and get their belongings or like get clothes or like how do you think about like smoke exposure in a house like that? You know, a lot of these houses they're going to have to be remediated if
Yeah,
they're, I mean, all of
yeah,
them are going to have
yeah,
to be remediated because, I mean, from my understanding, smoke can be
yeah,
pretty toxic, but
yeah.
like, are your clothes salvageable or do you kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
throw
I mean,
those
no,
away? Like,
clothes you can totally wash. I mean, those are fine. And if your clothes are smoky, you don't want to be wearing them. You want to make sure you do a good wash and cleaning. Borax can clean a lot of stuff. If you add borax to the laundry, that'll actually do an extra cleaning of toxins and things from your clothes, along with your regular laundry detergent. But the truth is, if there's still a lot of stuff in the air, and it's really important to wear an N95 mask, and you can even wear, like a kind of a suit, like you can get them on Amazon for close to nothing. There's like hazmat suits where you cover yourself and you're not exposed to your skin or the rest of your body, and make sure you wear your eye coverings and goggles and a mask if you have to go back in. But I wouldn't just sort of saunter into your place when it's still in the sort of active zone of where the fires were.
well, the other thing I'll say is if anyone has questions during this, feel free to put them in the Q&A and we'll get to the questions at the end. So if you do, let's say you go back in, you've already gone back in and you do have like a rash developing or anything like that, like and you're starting to have skin sensitivity, like what can you do about that?
Take a shower. I mean, just get
Yeah,
soap and water.
yeah,
That gets rid of a lot of the oil-based toxins, and
yeah.
I think it's important to really make sure you don't let that stuff stay on you because it does go through your skin, it goes through your body, and basically you have like a whole set of detoxification systems built into your body. Your lungs are one, your skin is one, your digestive tract is one, your liver is another, and kidneys. So there's ways to maximize the detoxification from each of these organs and systems, and I'm going to just go through you now. Everything from simple practices to supplements and foods and so forth. So should we do that?
Let's go into that.
So the first thing is in terms of your home, I think just accelerating recovery is make sure you get an air filter, especially in your bedroom or where you spend the most of your time. If you can get more air filters, the better. Um, and again, minimizing the outdoor activities and using an N95 mask. The soil, that's a bigger project in terms of bioremediation and phytoremediation, which is plants that can help remove toxins, changing out the topsoil if you're growing stuff that you want eating. Water is really important. You got to filter your water. So that's really, really key. So I think getting yourself washed regularly is key. Taking a shower a couple times a day is probably a good idea to get any soot or ash off your hair, clothes, make sure you launder your clothes that are exposed to the smoking environment. And then supporting your detox pathways is really important. So your liver is a big one. Hydration helps for sure kidneys and liver. So 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. Certain foods really help liver health, like the whole broccoli family, broccoli, collards, kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, bok choy. All that's really, really important. Garlic and onions contain a lot of sulfur. These boost glutathione, which I'll talk about in a minute. Turmeric, which is a great anti-inflammatory, also detoxifier for the liver. You can take it as supplements. Lemon water also great, stimulates bile production. So hot water and lemon, that helps bile production, which is where you excrete a lot of your toxins. And then supplement wise, I think the two biggest ones for the liver are milk thistle, which is an herb, usually about 140 milligrams twice a day. You want to get it from reputable companies, and N-acetylcysteine or NAC, which is a precursor of a molecule in the body called glutathione, which is the main detoxifying molecule in the body. It's like, think of it like fly paper. Any toxins just stick to it and the body gets rid of it. So really important to boost glutathione, and we'll talk some more about other ways to do that. But N-acetylcysteine, about 600 milligrams a day, twice a day is something I would be for sure taking. Kidneys, I think really important. I think drinking a lot, obviously foods for kidneys, berries,
Mm.
cucumber and celery, celery juice is big rage, but in here it actually makes a difference in terms of, hydrating diuretic effect. Lungs, if your lungs are really affected, you can use steam inhalation of eucalyptus. So you can just get, like boil some water in a bowl, put your towel over your head and put some eucalyptus drops in there and breathe that. And then it doesn't have to be anything
You can
fancy.
get one of those big eucalyptus branches, put it over your shower and turn on your shower and get the steam going
Yeah,
from the
I guess you
eucalyptus.
could. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ginger and turmeric also reduce inflammation. Skin detoxification, sweating is incredible. So saunas, if you have one, if you have access to one, exercise, it definitely makes you sweat. So I would encourage that, but inside, not outside. And then Epsom salt baths are really pretty cool because magnesium sulfate some baths are like with different magnesium salts like chloride, but you want magnesium sulfate because magnesium is great just for relaxation. And you can also throw 10 drops of lavender oil in the bathtub because it actually lowers cortisol, which is the stress hormone.
Hmm.
And the sulfate is sulfur molecule that increases glutathione because it's a sulfur-based molecule. So that really helps boost glutathione and help you eliminate toxins. And it's also just feels really great. Take a hot Epsom salt bath. Gut health, you've got to eliminate toxins because all of it, if your liver's working and it's flushing the toxins, it's going right into your gut. And so you have to make sure you go. And so making sure you're eating a lot of fiber-rich foods, chia seeds, flax seeds are great for pooping, whole grains, just eating lots of fiber. Probiotics also
Yeah.
important, just helping gut health. Fermented foods like kimchi, yogurt, sauerkraut, supplements, all that's great. And then, for just general antioxidant support, because a lot of these things cause oxidative stress or free radicals in your body. So berries, leafy greens, nuts and seeds, take supplements like vitamin C, vitamin E. There's one called alpha lipoic acid, which again, with N-acetylcysteine are probably two of the most powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory detoxifying compounds that are out there. And you can take about 600 milligrams twice a day in an acute setting. Normally, you can take 600, 300, 600 a day. Nutrition support, really important. Protein is key to boost glutathione because glutathione comes
Yeah.
from certain amino acids and they are probably found in things like meat and fish and eggs and beans. Lots of good fats that are anti-inflammatory, like the omega-3 fats, really key.
Would you
And
want somebody to even go get like a big glutathione push?
everybody has
Yeah.
access to
Yeah. Yeah.
IV. You
Yeah.
can get IV glutathione or intravenous glutathione, but the oral stuff works pretty
Yeah.
good. Then long term, like how do you know if you're exposed? What do you do? At Function Health, we offer testing of heavy metals so you can measure,
Yeah.
mercury, lead, arsenic, cadmium, and see like what your exposure's been. You can measure the PFAS, the forever chemicals, BPA, and other toxins that we have as part of Function. If you go to functionhealth.com, you can sign up. It takes 5 minutes, and you can kind of get tested for these things, which is really important. And just generally just eat a healthy diet. Like, the more load you put on your body from ultra processed food, you're going to probably want to eat comfort food, eat sugar and tons of carbs. It's a bad idea because it just increases the stress response in the body, but also it actually leads to more inflammation and all these toxins drive inflammation. So you're kind of counteracting everything else you're doing. So basically a whole food diet. I wrote a book called The Vegan Diet or Food What the Heck Should I Eat? Basically just common sense approach to eating real food. Just get away from the crap, sugar, and make sure you take enough rest and sleep and just self-care, stress management, and all those things. And then, if you're really not feeling well, you should consult a physician and make sure you get checked out.
Yeah. I actually had high heavy metals, which we found out through Function,
Mhm.
and you helped me detox through them. It's like, it's actually not as hard as it sounds. I mean,
Yeah.
the MSA wasn't fun,
And
but
then,
it's better than having heavy metals.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And then, a lot of people are still in LA, and like, there's obviously an air quality
yeah,
question
yeah,
here
yeah.
that's like, how can they trust the reporting? Do you not trust the reporting? Like, if you had the option, would you just tell people to leave LA right now? Like, what's like,
I
how
mean,
should they think about air quality, or at minimum, if they have to stay in LA, like what precautions can they be taking? Obviously, I know you really like the N95 mask. Is there another mask that's even better?
I think that 95 mask is fine. Air filters in the house really key, especially where you spend most of your time, especially in the bedroom. The HEPA filters are good, and there's a lot of good brands out there. And I think ideally in the acute phase, it's good not to be there.
Yeah,
For a couple of weeks. We're sort of pushing at the end of that time.
we're like 9 days out or something like that,
Yeah.
from the beginning of it. But
I,
still, I mean,
I
it's
don't
still
even,
burning.
it's still burning.
Yeah,
So there's stuff still burning. It's
yeah,
like if you can get out of Dodge and you can afford it and you have a place to go, I certainly would err on that side. But a lot of people can't afford it or
yeah,
can't actually
yeah,
go anywhere and have to just deal with it. So I think the good news is that we know a lot about how to mitigate it. It's a shitty situation, but people get through it and can mitigate a lot of the health risks, which is good news.
yeah. Okay, so let's take some questions from the
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got one here. Oh, actually, this is Bill. Bill is actually the reason why we started Bright Harbor. The founder of Bright Harbor, one of his close friends, Bill, went through a fire, and he like full fire burned down his house, and he didn't know what to do. And our founder Joel actually hired him an assistant to help like and helped him like figure out the entire process, helped him navigate insurance, navigate FEMA, like helped him get like different government grants, like
Amazing.
SBA loans, and that's literally why we started right over. Anyway, so Bill has a question, and he's basically saying he wants to go back and sift through the ash and see if anything's salvageable, but he also wants to protect himself, and he's afraid that he's going to kick up all these
Yeah.
toxins
Yeah.
as he does it. Like, would you,
You need a
what's,
fully
yeah,
like really high quality N95 mask, fully sealed, and I would wear goggles and basically buy one of those sort of hazmat suit kind of things, which are like these plastic things you can put on and have will cover your head every inch of your body. Don't let your skin be exposed because in that ash is a lot of bad stuff you don't want to be exposed to, and it
yeah,
will make you sick if
yeah.
you are exposed to it.
We have another person that's asking how long until we can stop wearing N95 masks? I'm sorry, and start
Exercise,
exercising
yeah. I mean,
outside. Yeah,
like I said, it takes sort of days to weeks, and it depends on if there's still fires burning. We're talking about when everything has stopped burning and all the smoke is gone, it's still in the air.
yeah,
So, if there was a heavy rain, that would accelerate the recovery, but
yeah,
I would wait. Like if and you look at the air quality measures because even weeks out, if there's no rain, it still could be pretty bad, and depends on the winds and a lot of factors. But I think being cautious is better. So I would try to work out inside, and I would definitely wear a 95 mask going outside if you're in LA and you're in the zone.
Now, we have another question. Any, like, basically, I think this is a question of geography, which so might be a little hard for you to answer, but like if you're 10 miles from the fire, are you less likely to have to think about stuff like this, or are you
Yeah, I
still
mean,
having to think about air
I think
quality?
you do. I mean, if they burn coal in China, it pollutes Seattle. So it does travel in the air and it comes down and the winds carry it very far. So, just be alert and see how you feel. And if you're in a probably 25 to 50 mile radius, you probably want to be careful and just, check air quality and watch
Yeah.
that.
I'm having extreme anxiety and stress and can't sleep from the trauma of the fire. Are there any safe supplements I can take to calm down, de-stress, and get back to my normal sleep patterns?
I mean, there are a lot of things you can take. Everything from melatonin to help you sleep to calming herbs like lemon balm, and there's a lot of adaptogenic herbs that help with stress and anxiety. There's a product I like called HPA Adapt that's quite good, or another one called Catacolicom from Designs for Health. And I don't have any affiliation with these companies, but Catacolicom is good for reducing the catecholamines, which is all the adrenaline that runs through your body and the cortisol. There's also ashwagandha, which can be very helpful. There's something called Cortisol Manager by Integrative Therapeutics, which has a number of different nutrients, including phosphatidylserine and ashwagandha, which is really good at helping lower cortisol at night because that's what prevents us from falling asleep.
Yeah. And then we have a question. It says, can you give any recommendations for firefighters, like people that are actually like going in? I know this is kind of
I mean, it's all
a
the same
hard one.
stuff. I would
Yeah.
just focus on all the
Yeah.
self-care
Yeah.
practices
Yeah.
and dietary things and supplements and
Yeah. Yeah.
they're usually pretty well protected and covered,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that they use are PFAS
Yeah.
chemicals, and so they should get tested, and they probably might want to go through a more aggressive detoxification protocol,
Yeah.
once this is all over.
Yeah. This is more of like a long-term question that someone's asking, which is what about all the toxins that'll be kicked up in the air for the next 1 to 2 years as they're bulldozing and clearing debris of affected areas? Like, how could somebody think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue. So I think it's just really the same approach, is sort of optimizing your health, maximizing detoxification, checking air quality. If it's bad, wearing a mask,
Yeah.
having air filters in your house. I think I didn't mention this, but I think having a water filter is really important, even if it's a Brita filter. If you can afford a reverse osmosis filter in your house, in your kitchen, I would highly recommend that. They're not that expensive, and it's so critical because a lot of the stuff gets in the groundwater, it gets in your water supply, you're drinking it, and it's a much longer term problem.
Yeah. We have some air quality questions I think we kind of covered for the most part. Any specific like apps or meditation apps that you really like? Any
I
specific
think my
meditation
wife
apps you
has a
really
new
like?
one she loves called
Yeah.
Edel. I think EDEL, I think it's called. I
Okay.
like New Calm, which puts you in a
Oh yeah, they're
binaural
great.
beat, kind of
Yeah.
resets your nervous system.
Yeah.
There's Calm, there's Headspace. There's a lot of great apps out
Yeah.
there that can help you reset your nervous system.
Yeah. Okay, Mark, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, especially taking time on a Saturday to talk to our LA community. Yeah, everyone, thank you so much. You'll be getting a video recording of this so that you can go back and reference anything that you need.
Question about the car. Make
Yeah.
sure when you drive, put the car on recirculate. So you don't want outside air coming in. The button where you can have the air recirculating in the car as opposed to being air intake from the outside, because that'll save you from a lot of the toxins.
Guys, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time on a Saturday. Mark, we really appreciate you taking the time on a Saturday.
Pleasure.
And we'll circulate this video to everyone that registered so that you have access to it and you can reference it at any time. Stay safe out there, guys.